In 1949, the People's Republic of China was formed after a brutal civil war. The country was poor, agrarian, and war-torn. Mao Zedong led with a vision of socialism, but the Great Leap Forward and Cultural Revolution caused millions of deaths and deepened instability. For decades, China remained economically stagnant and isolated. In 1978, Deng Xiaoping introduced market reforms. China opened to foreign investment, decollectivized agriculture, and began industrialization. This marked the beginning of China's rise from a closed communist economy to a global manufacturing hub. In the 1980s and 1990s, China's GDP growth averaged between 8% and 14% annually. The country became the world's factory. Multinational companies moved production to China due to cheap labor and improving infrastructure. China built roads, cities, factories, and ports at an astonishing pace. In 2001, China joined the World Trade Organization, opening its markets even further. Exports exploded. Electronics, clothing, steel, and machinery flooded global markets. China rapidly moved up the value chain and amassed massive trade surpluses. Parallel to its economic growth, China launched massive military modernization. The People's Liberation Army, once large but outdated, became a central focus of investment. China built new naval fleets, developed stealth aircraft, missiles, drones, and cyber warfare capabilities. By the 2010s, China had launched aircraft carriers, modernized command structures, and built artificial islands in the South China Sea. It also began testing hypersonic missiles, satellites, and anti-ship weapons, signaling its intent to counter U.S. military influence in Asia. In 2013, China launched the Belt and Road Initiative, a global infrastructure strategy involving over 140 countries. China invested in ports, railways, roads, and energy projects in Asia, Africa, Latin America, and Europe. It sought to build trade networks, expand its political influence, and secure raw materials. China also increased its presence in the United Nations, WTO, and other global institutions, often challenging Western leadership. First, demographics. China's population is aging rapidly. The one-child policy, lifted too late, caused a dramatic decline in birth rates. The labor force is shrinking, and the burden of elder care is growing. Second, debt. China's growth relied on infrastructure investment and real estate development, much of it funded by massive government borrowing. Entire cities were built with little demand. Local governments hold trillions in hidden debt. Third, income inequality remains high. Wealth is concentrated in urban coastal cities, while inland provinces lag behind. Rural poverty still exists. China is a major player in technology, but it still faces barriers. Despite advances in AI, electric vehicles, and telecoms, it remains dependent on foreign countries for advanced semiconductors, aerospace tech, and critical machinery. U.S. and European export controls have cut China off from top-tier chip-making equipment, slowing its ability to independently build cutting-edge devices. China is investing in self-reliance, but building a high-tech ecosystem from scratch takes decades. China's military, while large, lacks real combat experience. Its last major war was in 1979 against Vietnam. Power projection beyond the Asia-Pacific remains limited. The U.S. has a global military presence, hundreds of bases worldwide. China has only one overseas base in Djibouti. It lacks deep military alliances like NATO and doesn't have trusted global partners for sustained operations. Additionally, military innovation in China is hampered by tight political control and bureaucratic rigidity. China's assertive foreign policy has triggered backlash. Border disputes with India, territorial claims in the South China Sea, and pressure on Taiwan have strained relations with neighbors. In Africa and Asia, some countries criticize China's debt-based infrastructure lending. In Europe and North America, concerns about human rights, censorship, and authoritarianism limit diplomatic trust. The US, Japan, India, Australia, and others have formed strategic coalitions to balance China's rise. Unlike the US, China has limited soft power. While the US exports culture through movies, universities, and music, China's image is largely shaped by state-controlled messaging. Human rights concerns such as in Xinjiang and Hong Kong damage China's global reputation. Censorship, surveillance, and lack of press freedom weaken its appeal as a global leader. Even among developing nations, China's model of governance does not always attract imitation or loyalty. China is undeniably a global power economically and militarily. It has reshaped global trade, lifted millions from poverty, and challenged Western dominance in several areas. But to be a superpower requires more than GDP or missiles. It requires trusted alliances, ideological influence, technological leadership, soft power, global presence, and internal resilience. China's internal challenges, demographics, debt, political rigidity, and global skepticism still hold it back. It is powerful, but not yet peerless. That's why China, for all its strength, still isn't a superpower.